Welcome to Baseball Biz On Deck, and I'm Mark Carpenter, your host. And with me today, I have that perennial guest from London up in Ontario, Mr. Brent Cardy. Brent is the purveyor of all things knowledgeable with the Canada baseball and certainly with the Toronto Blue Jays. Hey, Brent, how you doing today, man?
Corby, I'm great, pal. Good to see you. How are you?
It's fantastic, brother. Having another wonderful day here in sunny Tampa. It's a good day. I've got a team that's doing fairly well and a good start to the season.
Yeah, no complaints. I mean, you guys came to Toronto 13-0. You beat up on a bunch of teams that were underperforming, as you should have, and you lost two pitchers who were underperforming. You beat a guy who was supposed to perform today, who just we can get into it, has not been up to snuff this season. But yeah, no, I mean, so far, I mean, if you're a Rays fan, you got to be happy. Obviously, the Jays, they pick up Kevin Kiermaier. We can definitely talk about that, but Kiermaier has been very good so far this season. And obviously, you guys got great pitching. McClanahan was great today. And yeah, pretty good start. I got to think if you're a Jays fan and a Rays fan, you're pretty happy with that.
Yeah, things are moving quite well. Obviously, you guys put a stop to that roll. I mean, 13 in a straight wins. That was amazing. And like I said, a lot of criticism went on the Rays about that. But one thing they couldn't really argue about, and that was the run differential. Whether you think a team is great or not, it was interesting to see that with the Rays, it was almost like, I think, about 70 runs plus over all the games we'd had with the other teams at that point.
Yeah, I mean, you can't argue that. I mean, again, if you're not playing good teams, you're supposed to beat up on them. You're supposed to not give up those runs. So, I mean, Tampa did what they did. And, I imagine when Toronto gets to the Trop, it'll be the same thing. It'll be the House of Horrors for the Jays, and the Rays could probably take 2 out of 3 and balanced schedule. I'm really curious to see how that plays out for all the clubs in the American League East this year, Yankees included. I don't know. I would say it's a 3-team race for the East. I'm not putting the Red Sox up there or the Orioles, but I definitely think the Orioles, Mark, definitely could be in the wild card on.
Oh yeah,
you got to keep your eye on them. But so I mean, you got to be happy. I mean, you guys consistently, the organization consistently puts out pitchers. They take truck drivers, school teachers, Olive Garden chefs, and they turn them into great pitchers. And yeah, I mean, that's how they make their money. So,
well, the Rays have done a good job. I mean, there's a lot of criticism about what the pay is and what they spend, but I look at it as just smart spending. I used to really criticize. I've said this probably too much already. I used to criticize Eric Neander, the guy who was actually making all those decisions with the Rays, but they've all played out pretty well. So kudos to him also. Now that we've done the Mutual Admiration Society portion of the show, we can dig a little more. I really do want to focus on the Blue Jays on this show because, like you said, this is going to be a good year for them. I mean, you've got a great team. If I'm looking at the pitching, I know you've got some guys that are out ill too, but you got Kikuchi. Wow. Manoah, outside of today, I guess he's been pretty good. But today, we'll talk about that a little bit too. That was not his best effort. Berrios, I know you guys have been a little iffy with him, but he looked pretty good a couple of days ago when he pitched against the Rays.
He did.
Gausman and Bassitt. Who else am I thinking of? Oh, Ryu. Is he going to be back this year?
Yeah, no, he's not Tommy John. They're thinking after the trade deadline, he should be back. And I'd agree with that. He's not a hard throwing guy.
Yeah.
So I would say that timeline makes sense.
So what is your rotation? Is it what, Kikuchi and
as my buddies, my co-host Dave Glassard and one of our great buddies, Brent Cardy, we call him was it Yusai Kikuchi. Kikuchi's actually the 5th starter. He looked like an ace yesterday when he pitched, but he's actually the 5th starter. He's coming off a terrible year after signing a 3-year, $36 million contract. The year prior to that, he was an all-star for the Mariners, and he kind of ended up in the bullpen because he struggled. And a lot of people believe that the pitch clock and his hard work during the offseason are definitely going to make an impact. And you saw it yesterday.
Yeah.
He was, zipping in his fastball at 95, sometimes 97. He's touched 98. And then, he was throwing there's a debate whether it's a cutter or a slider, but it heads towards the plate. And then if you're a right-handed batter, it goes to the inside and looks like a strike. So he's generating a ton of swing and misses on that. And he's working quickly as well. So far, so good for Kikuchi this year. And I know everybody in my workplace, I joke about Kikuchi being a Cy Young Award winner, but the dude has electric stuff. And he is the number 5 starter. So if and when Hyun-Jin Ryu comes back, the Jays are going to have a decision to make if all 5 starters are healthy and they're being somewhat competitive. Do you use Ryu as a long man, or is there somebody else like a Berrios or Bassitt? Berrios and Bassitt are both making over $20 million a year, so I guess you're not going to put them in the pen. They're going to have a decision to make if Kikuchi keeps pitching like this. The question is, can he do that? We're going to find out. Then you look at Berrios. You talked about Berrios, who pitched well Friday night. He takes the comebacker from Yandy Diaz off the knee, and that kind of shortened his night a bit. But prior to that, he was not good. He made 2 road starts, and essentially he wasn't walking guys, Corby, but he was leaving the fastball in the middle, and guys were just tearing off on it. His start against Anaheim, he used to slurve a little bit, so the slider curveball kind of mix, generated a ton of swing and misses on that. So if he has the fastball command and then he can finish guys with the slurve, he'll be successful. He just has to make competitive pitches. You go to Chris Bassitt. Chris Bassitt has 8 pitches. 8. How do you have 8? I don't understand.
That's new math to me when it comes to pitching. You have to explain that.
Yeah. So, and let's make it even weirder. He's using PitchCom to call his pitches. So he's not letting the catcher call the game. His last 2 starts have been good. 6 innings, 3 runs, both starts. But one of them was to the Detroit Tigers. Hard for me to put stock in that with the way their offense is. So let's see what happens when I don't think he lines up for Houston. I got to think about that for a minute. Yes, he does. He'll be facing Houston, I think, on Tuesday. So we'll have to see how he makes out against the Astros, who are pretty good. And then, the Yankees, I think he'll get the final game. No, that'll be Gausman. But let's see what happens with Bassitt. He might, John Schneider might just be like, get rid of the PitchCom and let the catcher call the game, or I don't know. Let's see what happens with that. Jury's out. His first start against St. Louis was terrible. He got the ball and he was leaving pitches in the middle of the plate. The Cardinals were trying to cover up the ball. Kevin Gausman's been outstanding. Last start he pitched 8 innings. He's been consistent. Fastball high, splitter low, generating a ton of swing and miss. And then Manoah, as you saw today, was not good. He's missing. He's missing big time. And we don't know whether he's trying to get extension on his legs, and that's why, or it's just control, or it's just mechanics. He was fighting his mechanics out there. This is a guy that, Corby was talking a lot of smack around the league, and Garrett Cole can attest. Some of the Boston Red Sox can attest. And, he's going to be facing Cole this coming Saturday in New York. So that'll be interesting. This is a guy that definitely needs to get on track, but I do wonder. He pitched 196 innings last year and didn't have a ton of time in the minor leagues. He came up pretty quickly. Let's see what happens. Hopefully he figures it out. But if he doesn't and he continues to struggle, we'll have to see. It felt like he made some in-game adjustments today, so I'm encouraged by that. But then there was a point to where they were throwing the ball around. He pulls up his high socks over his knees. So I don't know if his knees are bugging him, if his back's bugging him. He's a bigger guy. I don't know. Those last few starts have not been good. The start against St. Louis wasn't good. He pitched 6 innings and 1 run ball against Kansas City. And again, no disrespect to the Royals, but they're not an offensive powerhouse, right? So there's your rotation in a nutshell. It can be very, very good, and for 5 days, and it could be a roller coaster the next 5. So we'll have to see how it goes.
Well, you're talking about what you're going to do if you have 6 quality pitchers, and that's a problem not everybody has. But you were mentioning Kansas City, and it made me think of something that I heard from Ryan Yarbrough, who used to be a Ray. He's now pitching
Yeah,
with Kansas
how
City.
did Yarbrough become a Ray?
Uh,
That took me by surprise, or a
oh,
Royal.
he wasn't playing at the level that we wanted. Rays are very selective about what they've got to do with the talent they have, and Yarbs just wasn't performing consistently well. And he had in the past. I hope that he will in the future. I'm not sure what happened there, but one of the things that interesting with the Royals of the day, they kind of inserted him in the middle of the game, and it's like okay, and they said, "How about that? How do you deal with that, Ryan?" He says, "Well, I used to be with the Rays, and you learn how to get comfortable with being uncomfortable." I said, that's a good one. I thought that's pretty good because he'd been in a situation where there were starters, relievers weren't always definitely relievers. I mean, you got bullpen days. Well, not to go too much on this, but we were talking about the World Baseball Classic, before we actually started the show, and you looked at Japan, and they had a fresh pitcher every inning coming up out there. It's the philosophy was quite different. I mean, of course, they had the depth and such for that short period of time. You guys are getting back to you all, and Alek Manoah. Wow, smart Alek, right? I mean, he's beloved amongst all the other teams in the league, and I don't know, brother. I don't know what you guys are going to do with him. He must be having some kind of difficulty, physically or otherwise, like we were talking about with pulling the socks. But he needs a coach to kind of get him through this. I think somebody who can take him out of his own head.
Well, I think the other part to that too is, I mean, you're looking at a guy who legitimately came into the league and started throwing quality starts. He hasn't struggled yet. He didn't struggle in 2022. He's phenomenal. This is the first time in his career he's struggled, and every pitcher is going to struggle. The great ones always did. Halladay did for a little bit. Roger Clemens struggled here and there. It's about how you bounce back from the struggle that makes your career. And I think Alek's going to figure it out. He's too smart of a guy not to. I think this will make him, this experience should, and I hope it makes him a little more humble, to where he's not running his mouth and, after he strikes guys batting $1.60 out and whatnot. Focus on the game, focus on what you can do, execute your pitches, and do it again 5 days later.
There you
Never
go.
mind all the nonsense.
Yeah, teach that to all the youth in the world while you're at it.
I'm trying.
One at a time. No, it's fun watching the Jays. I mean, and I look at that lineup you have. I mean, my gosh, George Springer, somebody who I was just anathema for me because he came from that team, the Astros years ago. Bo Bichette, Vlad Jr., Matt Chapman. And I want to talk a little bit about him in a moment too. Alejandro Kirk. Nobody, I think, you see that man, you never realize if you haven't looked at baseball and what he can do, it's just amazing. The physicality of his appearance has absolutely nothing to do with what he executes on this, out there on the field. Whit Merrifield, Espinal, Luplo, and I'm sorry, you got a new center fielder out there sometimes too. Kevin Kiermaier.
Kevin Kiermaier.
Tell me about it. How's the Blue Jay fans taking him?
They love him. What's not to like about Kevin Kiermaier? He plays great center field. The ladies think he's a good-looking guy, and he's fast. He's a hell of a base runner. He's a great defender. I mean, there was, I think it was opening day. Merrifield was on second. Kiermaier was on first. They're in St. Louis at Busch Stadium. George Springer's at the plate. He hits a Texas leaguer, drops probably, just over the shortstop's head and left center. Merrifield picks it up down the line. Kiermaier, I swear to God, Mark, was just, he read it the whole time. I'm sitting here, I'm texting my buddies. I'm like, how the hell did Kiermaier read that? He read that thing the whole time. Merrifield hesitated. Merrifield still scores because he's got wheels. Kiermaier is at third, no problem. And I was just like, okay, we're going to be fine. And opening night in Rogers Center, Kiermaier jumps over the center field wall, takes one home run away, and the crowd goes insane. All 42,000. Welcome to Toronto. Or welcome back to Toronto, I guess. But no, he's done very well. He's a good, solid ball player who plays the game the right way, and Toronto fans are going to love him. And he might. I don't know. I think he might sign 2024, 2025. If he wants a multi-year deal, if 2023 is a good year for him. I know it's early, but I think it's a good fit for sure.
Yeah, well, I look forward to seeing what he does. He always makes the game exciting. He's a bit of a showboat sometimes, and that's fine by me. Some of the theatrics out there in center field, but I love it. I mean, that's part of his game, and he keeps it entertaining. I'll miss him here. There's no doubt. But we've been very fortunate with who we do have with the Rays. But tell me a little bit more about your team. Is there somebody in the Blue Jays that has been overlooked, or somebody has said that they're really going to shine this year? You may not have seen them before.
So let me give you a couple names. I'm going to start with Dalton Varsho. Dalton Varsho came from Arizona for two pretty solid ball players, and Lourdes Gurriel Jr., who is playing left field for Toronto, who can hit very well, and Gabriel Moreno, who's the top-rated prospect in the Toronto Blue Jays system, a catcher. And they're now both playing in Arizona. And we got Varsho, who was a Gold Glove finalist in the outfield, and he would actually catch from time to time. He caught 31 games last year, so I thought that was just fascinating. So Varsho this year has come in, and he's been a pretty mellow guy. He doesn't say too much. He's playing left field. He hasn't played a ton of left, but he'll play center and he'll play a left. Today was the only game that he's had off so far, but there's a lot of really good things he does. He'll bunt for a single. He's got power. He hit 27 of them last year playing in, National League West ballpark. So just imagine
Wow.
the damage he can do in the American League East. And he's played really well defensively. He's done a lot of solid things. This guy is a bulldog, and he's going to play a lot for this team, and he plays hard. I mean, Toronto fans really appreciate guys who come to town, don't say too much, and play hard. And Barco fits that bill. I'm curious to see, how he progresses. He's still a young guy, and the Jays have him under control for 3 more years, I believe. You mentioned Bichette, and everybody talks about Vladdy Guerrero Jr. Everyone's like Vladdy. But Bichette, for the Tampa Bay fans who know, is a Tampa Bay native who's led the major leagues in hits for the past 3 seasons. Take the defensive liability out of it. He's worked his ass off to become a solid defender, but the things he can do with the bat with 2 strikes, there's no better 2-strike hitter in baseball. And this guy right now will win. He's going to win a batting title. The Jays bought out his arbitration years, so he signed a 3-year deal, $33 million. He's going to get paid come free agency, and I don't know who's going to pay him, but he's going to get paid a lot. You could make the argument that maybe the Jays should have extended Bo first. I think Bo just has a little bit more maturity, a little bit more clutch than Vladdy does. Vladdy's a phenomenal ball player, and he's going to continue to get better. But I think Bo just has that it factor a little bit more. I think he wants it a little bit more. I could be wrong. But he's been he's played very well. Very well. You mentioned Matt Chapman. He's in his walk here. He's figured out the toe tap, and his approach has been awesome the other way. So let's see how that goes. The Jays get a 2015 Josh Donaldson version of Matt Chapman. They'd be ecstatic.
Yeah.
And it's a good club. They've done a really good job building this team up. And from Latin, they've made some changes. Teoscar Hernandez got traded to Seattle for Eric Swanson. We mentioned Gurriel. So the outfield defense with Kiermaier and Varsho is a lot better. They moved Springer to right. So I think it's a lot better. I think the middle infield has a lot of versatility, which is good. So it's a good time to be a Jays fan.
Well, it is exciting watching you guys. I mean, and you talk about Bichette. It is amazing to see what he does. I mean, as both defensively and offensively out there at shortstop, he moves quickly, man. He moves very quickly, and he just hit a number this week too, didn't he?
500 RBIs.
That's it. Wow, brother, that's outstanding too. I mean, to see a young man that early in his life, I think it said, was it 470 games or was it 407? I'm juxtaposing numbers as far as games he's played with at that point anyway with Toronto, but outstanding performance. So that's great to see. There's been some changes though made on the team, but there's also been some changes to the theater where that team plays. And I mean, we look at what's happening there. You guys played 10 games on the road to start the season. Remind me, I talk to you about the balanced schedule before we close on all this later on, because there's something what the Marlins will say. But you guys had to be on the road for the first 10 games. So opening day, good Lord, slightly delayed for Toronto, man. What was that like?
Back to your point on Bichette, I have to correct myself. He's got 505 hits. He's played 409 games. So I had to correct myself. Opening day for Toronto, 10 games on the road. They dealt with it. They were together in spring training, and John Schneider, the manager, is even quoted as saying, "This is good for our club. It brings the guys closer together." They're going to have another one next year because phase 2 or phase 3 of the renovation will occur after the season. So they'll take all the seats around behind home plate. They'll face them towards the infield, and they'll make rich people levels where all the rich people hang out and drink wine and shit. So yeah, no, it was fun. St. Louis, Kansas City, so there's not much travel between the two parks there, and then they had to go to Anaheim, which wasn't a bad thing because I think they're gonna, everybody's wearing sleeves and toques, in St. Louis and Kansas City. So get back to the warmer weather and then come to Toronto where it was 25 degrees Celsius today. You can transfer that in Fahrenheit if you want to. It was warm. They got to the warmer weather and now they're going to go to Houston and then New York after that. So yeah, no, the road trip was fine. They brought everybody together and they're going to get another road trip out of the way and spend a little more time in Toronto towards the end of the month.
Well, I was interested to see what you guys were doing, like I said, again, with Rogers Center. And part of that today was when I was watching the game, I didn't realize was it the Marriott or some hotel that you actually have built into the stadium? Mm-hmm. I heard somebody say, "Oh yeah, rooms are about $1,000 a night." Good Lord, man!
Yeah, 500 for the games.
Okay,
500 to look on the field.
Oh, I remember years ago I was in sales, and I had to go to Green Bay, and I went there the day after a game. So Lambeau Stadium, all the thing. The place was a large hotel, but I went in there. It was like a mausoleum because everybody had just vacated from before. So the first night, because it was the night after the game, it was like $300 a night, and this is like 10 years ago. And then it was like $75 the next couple of nights.
Oh my!
little difference, yeah. So I'm not surprised that they're going to charge a pretty penny there in Toronto for that. But it looks exciting, man. There's like a lot of fun things there, new areas for people even to just want to stand and watch the game, some standing room only stuff, some crazy thing.
Yeah, no, they done a good job. There's the right field and left field corners of the 500 level. Nobody was sitting there, so they've a kids area. They call it the Park Social, where you can get ice cream and stuff. And then the other one, they call it the Corona Rooftop Patio. And I guess you can drink Coronas and watch the game and look into the skyline and hang out with your friends and don't watch the ball game because that's what it's all about. Redid the corners, like you said, for standing room only, which looks pretty cool if you like that thing. If you like to stand and do that. I don't know why you would buy seats to a game just to hang out in a standing room only area, but it's 2023, and I guess who am I to judge? But yeah, no, they've done a good job, and it looks cool. They've done a nice job elevating the bullpens. I thought that was nice. They even have, I think it's in left center. I could be wrong, but there's a tap and go. So you go into this kind of like a convenience store thing. You get a beer, you get chips, scan your card, scan your phone, and go back to your seats. They could have just done that. And I'd have been like, okay, cool, good job. I don't have to wait in line. All the millennials are happy, and I guess that's what matters.
Well, here's one for you, and since you brought up concessions. We're looking at charter games, supposedly. Mm-hmm. Do those concession people, do they have less hours to work so that since they're charter games and they're going to be saving some money there?
No, I have an organization.
Oh, please do.
So the Corona rooftop patio has music before the game. So they have an extra hour and a half because the gates open an hour and a half early. So they have an hour and a half to serve a few more drinks, play live music, and then the game's on. what they're trying to figure out is with the faster pace of the games, do they extend last call beyond the seventh inning? And I'm like, well, I always thought that was a Major League Baseball rule. So there would have to be a lot of clearance there, right? So I don't know. And this is the other part we talked about on the podcast as well is do you go through the headache of traveling through downtown Toronto, paying for parking, finding someplace to eat for a 2.5 hour ball game?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the question. If you find that valuable, then right on, have at it. And if you don't, and if you find that you can park your behind in front of the TV, save yourself the drive, save yourself the traffic and the headache, you can hang out with your friends. Would you do that? I don't know.
It'd be interesting if there's some advertising executives somewhere sitting down. I thought one of the first things I thought, well, they're not actually going to lose advertising time because you're still going to have the time between innings. You're going to have mound visits. Anytime there's making changes like that. So the only thing is you're putting it in a shorter period of time. So you're going to get the same amount of commercials within a shorter period of time. So they're not losing any money there at all.
No, and you can charge a premium for the ads. So if your team's good, and if you're getting the eyeballs on the product, you can charge a premium for them.
Oh, yeah. So I don't know. I just find it kind of amusing, the whole thing. I'm going to see how it all plays out. And like you mentioned, as far as extending the hours of whence people can buy booze in the park, I think back to a time back almost in college days. And so that's been some time ago.
What do you mean, Corby? It was not last week. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it feels like last week. It feels like because what I'm about to tell you, this is what I felt after some of those nights. Bars in Louisville used to stay open to 2 to 4 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of us, would sometimes enjoy the whole evening there.
Mm-hmm.
But what you did discover is that those hours in the morning is there was always police cars nearby to make sure everybody got home safely.
Yeah.
or did not make it home and went straight to the, to the jail with that. And which I'm wondering if the cops will be putting more people out in front of the stadiums now that they can drink longer into the game. They don't have a chance to sober up and have a chance to drink more before they leave the stadium.
Well, I've been to the Trop once and I vacated it early because the Jays are getting their butts kicked. So there's a decent police presence there, but in Toronto, there's a solid police presence on a normal night and a normal afternoon. And essentially, they're there, A, making sure nothing bad happens, and B, they're directed traffic. I think they have increased security, I think by 150. But if they do that, I imagine there's going to need to be a bigger investment for sure. But I don't know. I mean, they gotta pay for the reno somehow. It can't just be on our cable bills and internet bills. And it's a good point you bring up about law enforcement to make sure people don't do stupid stuff. So
yeah, well, I'm talking about changing the whole theater in there. One piece of the theater is personnel, and by that I'm talking about the new bench coach that you guys have,
Donald Mattingly. Yeah,
Yankees legend, dude. I mean, come on. I was like, whoa, disappear from the Marlins. What's going to happen to your career? Maybe go back to Yankees in the front office or something.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking he was going to pull a Farrell. He's going to come to Toronto for a year or two, and then when Booney gets canned, Mattingly is the new manager. That makes sense to me, doesn't it?
I see that as a reality. I mean, I think everybody questions how long Booney's going to be there, but he could be doing great or doing poorly, and everybody'd still do that. I mean, if you're a New York fan, you're always going to be discontented with this operation.
I'm surprised Booney got into the stadium. How many people wanted him fired last year?
Oh, Lord.
Poor guy. I feel for him. But yeah, I know Mattingly's a great asset for sure. And the hitters are going to learn a ton from him. You already see Vladdy Guerrero putting his work in at first base, learning a ton. So solid pickup. I honestly thought, and I talked about this with Lou on the podcast, that Mattingly was going to the Yankees.
Yeah.
I thought Booney was going to be gone because of the performance and, it would be a natural fit. Apparently not. And we'll have to see how it goes. But I know Mattingly, Dombrowski, and Dave Stewart are on the committee for that Nashville expansion project. So what if that comes to fruition within the next 12 to 18 months? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but It's definitely something to watch for sure.
Yeah, I'll keep my eye on that. I thought both he and Jeter would, leaving Miami would be the deal, and
Mhm.
we'll see what happens with that. I know looking at who was it, the Padres, they had Jace Tingler as their manager,
Yeah.
and now where's he at? He's a bench coach. I want to say with the Twins,
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see where all these people land. I don't think we'll ever see Joe Madden being a bench coach for anybody.
No, but I still think he's getting a nice paycheck from the Angels.
Oh, I wanted to come back to what you were mentioning a moment ago, the balanced schedule. And you were talking with a good friend of both ours. We're talking about Lou Schiff, down in Miami.
Yes,
And
sir.
with the Marlins, man, they played all these games against the Mets straight up front. They're both in the NL East. And I don't think they play the Mets again until September. A team in your own division, you play in the first month, and then you don't see them again until September. That's crazy.
That doesn't make sense.
No, there's a lot of things about this balanced schedule that seemed a little unbalanced. And I know it's new, like a lot of things, but I want to see where it makes sense. And for me, it doesn't in situations like that. Obviously, with the balanced schedule and playing every team every year, you're not going to be playing your division rivals, all that
No.
much. But they played one another like several games in the beginning. And like, the last time I remember looking, it wasn't until September that they're going to face one another again. So that's kind of odd.
Yeah, I'd say the Mets they face the Marlins 9 times in September.
That's
Yeah,
insane. That's insane.
but the Marlins will have an opportunity then to play a spoiler role.
Wouldn't
Right?
that be something, man? I tell you what, I'm always kind of pulling for the Marlins. It's NL East to me. It's kind of neat to see them and try to come up. I keep saying, well, Lou, you got Sandy Alcantara. Who else you got? He's got obviously got more than that,
He's got
but
Rise and he's
that's
got
right.
Segura and Garcia and John Birdie and De La Cruz. And yeah, they got some guys down
They
there.
got some guys. It
They
seems
got to
like
put it together.
that's the part. I mean, you can have all the talent you want. If you can't pull them all, row in the same direction at the same time, then there's challenges. And I think that's what they're experiencing right now. So let's take a look at that AL East, brother. Blue Jays, there they are, 10-6, sharing the spot with the Yankees at the moment. And talking about beneath that, of course, the Orioles and Red Sox, 8-7 and 8-8. And I had great hopes for the Orioles last year. I thought there were some things that were really starting to shine. And this year, I still kind of do, to be honest with you. I look at, was it Cedric and Montcastle and Ellie Rushman, and some of the other ones. And I'm thinking, these guys, they can make a difference.
Yeah. No, they really could. And I mean, Rushman is gone out to a fantastic start this year. And then you factor Mountcastle in there and Urias and Mateo and Hayes and all those guys. I mean, and then you got Big Bautista in the bullpen there. They traded Lopez,
Yeah,
and they got better. Like, just think about that for a minute. They're going to be a competitive team. And you knew when Mike Elias came in, you knew they're going to be headed in the right direction. And it was just a matter of time before the Orioles started to get themselves back into the conversation. And we remember the teams with Adam Jones and Chris Davis and Zach Britton. This team is going to be good, and I think Mike Elias and Brandon Hyde have done it right. They're going to be a good team for years to come. If not this year, they take the step. I say 2024, they take the step.
Well, it will be interesting to see if we're looking at the other team at the very bottom of the AL East. The Red Sox with an 8-8. They're the only one at 500. Everybody else is above that at the moment. But let's face it, again, we're only talking about 16 games thus far, so 10% of the entire season.
Yeah,
not going to be really able to say much about that. But still, the Red Sox, I think a lot of people, years ago when they brought in the new GM, actually from Tampa, and they came in and first thing they did was, oh, by the way, your job is to cut Mookie Betts, And it's like, what? And then I'm seeing him cut Xander Bogaerts. I think, what? I mean, these don't cripple the team, but my gosh, man, I don't know what the Red Sox are going to look like. I mean, you got Rafael Devers. He's doing his thing out there, and there's some good pitching and other things going as well. But I don't know. I don't really see them getting out of the basement this year.
I don't either. I thought, with Sale back, they'd be better, and Kenley Jansen coming over. But right now, they're struggling. Yoshida's been hurt. He is their new Japanese signing. They signed him to a 5-year, $90 million deal. Is Tristan Casas ready to take the next step at first base? Nobody knows. Trevor Story's been injured. He was the guy that can play short, so Bogart's going to San Diego. And then obviously you mentioned Devers, who has already been extended for sure. So obviously he's going to be there. But other than that, with Verdugo, Yoshida, Kike Hernandez is a good player, but he's not an impactful one. Um, Adam Duvall is a guy that could play well in the AL East, but he's injured now. So Boston's in trouble. I think they're going to hang around the 500 mark. I don't think they're going to go on a solid run. I just don't think they have the pitching. They signed Kluber, so maybe, but I mean, Kluber is getting over the hill.
Yeah, there's a reason the Rays didn't keep him another year. I mean,
Yeah, no, exactly. James Paxton, can he come back and contribute? I don't know. I mean, time will tell on that. But yeah, no, the Red Sox are in some trouble. They're going to have to figure out their pitching. And, they could get hot, but I highly doubt it. I don't expect much from them, which is weird because it was 2013. They came off that bad year. I think it was under Bobby Valentine. So that's when Farrell came over from Toronto. We talked about that earlier. And everybody underestimated Boston, but Boston did make some good baseball moves. Justin Turner is a good baseball move. Kenley Jansen's a good baseball move. And the Red Sox won the World Series. So I'm not saying the Red Sox are going to win the World Series, but we can't count them out just yet.
no.
If they're like this in July, then let's talk. But
Yeah, and let's face it. I mean, we all know injuries, everything else. By the time what your team looks like after the All-Star break can be completely different than what it looks like right now. Anybody's team, that is. And you don't know. Hey, I got one for you. Talking about the Red Sox. What do the Red Sox, Taylor Swift, and the Tampa Bay Rays have in common?
Ooh. They're all trouble when they walk in.
I like that, brother. Yeah, maybe. Taylor Swift. She was actually playing here in Tampa the last 3 days, starting on the 13th.
3 days.
3 days. Yeah. So, they love her. And they were doing it in the Bucks Stadium there too. So big outdoor deal for 3 nights.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, she's there on April 13th. April 13th was also the same day that the Rays played the Boston Red Sox at the Trop and had their 13th win, the first 13 days. Okay. So April 13th today, Taylor Swift's favorite number is 13.
Right.
Okay. Here's one more. Now, the Red Sox, the last 13 times they played at the Trop, they have lost. So the last time that they won at the Trop, the pitcher for the Red Sox was Corey Kluber.
Wow.
And he was the one on the mound the other day on that 13th game this season. So there's a little strange weirdness out there with the number 13. And I always like to see, hey, let's incorporate T Swift into MLB.
That's awesome. Good for her. 3 days at Raymond James Stadium. That's awesome. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, I hope so. I know people who've spent a couple nickels going to that. So,
yeah.
There was rumors that parking was going to be in the $90 at the stadium. I don't know if it got to be that, but I know other people are parking 3 blocks away or more and paying $40 for parking, in somebody's lawn. So
it's like $500 Canadian.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Oh, my friend. Oh, so what's the thing you are looking forward to the most in 2023 for your Jays?
The stretch run. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
After July, let's see what happens when Ryu comes back. Positionally, I don't think this team needs to do anything.
Yeah.
They're set. This team is legit set. But I am curious to see what they do with the bullpen, if they go out and get a solid piece. Curious to see what they're going to do with Ryu when he comes back. But other than that, well, let's see what happens down the stretch. Is Brandon Belt going to last the year? They're paying him $9 million, so I guess he better. But yeah, no, I'm curious to see how everybody health wise holds up, and pitchers with the pitch clock are. I'm curious to see how healthy pitchers stay. I haven't seen a lot of injuries pitching wise yet. We've had a couple guys take shots off the mound. You saw Berrios, you saw Romano yesterday. So, but I'm curious to see how that happens. Quicker game, quicker pace, less guys on the IL. That'd be ideal. But yeah, no. Sorry, to answer your question, it's definitely going to be a stretch drive for the Jays. And if Springer stays healthy, if Kiermaier stays healthy, it should be good.
Well, I'm excited for the Blue Jays this year. It's like every year you don't know with these teams. AL East is always a strong division. And I think for the last few years, you can certainly say that of the Blue Jays, you can say of the Yankees and the Rays. Red Sox have struggled, but you never know. And the Orioles, like I said, I think keep showing promise. So we'll keep our eye on the AL East and see what's going to come, my friend.
Yeah, no, I can't wait. Can't wait. It should be good.
Hey, let's remind everybody, we're speaking with Brent Cardy. And Brent, where can they find your show?
Yeah, you can find the Cardy Show on your streaming podcast. A lot of Blue Jays talk. If you like hockey, you can listen to the Old Time Hockey series a few months back. I thought Corby and I are going to talk about Maple Leafs and Lightning, but I mean that'll be next time.
Yeah, we'll save that one.
Yeah, we'll save that one. Lightning and 7 kids. But hey, listen, no, you listen to Cardy Show on your streaming podcast, just like the Baseball Biz, and encourage you to subscribe like Corby has, and listen to the greatness that comes on your podcast platforms, please.
All righty, my friend. Well, it's always a pleasure having you here, Brent. Thank you, buddy, and continued success with the Cardy Show and continued success with your Blue Jays, my friend.
Likewise, Mr. Corbett. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Take care. You've been listening to Baseball Biz on Deck. We had a special guest today, Mr. Brent Cardy from the Cardy Show. Hope you've enjoyed that. And as Brent was saying earlier, go ahead and make sure you check him out. Check us out at baseballbizondeck.com, as well as on Twitter. You can find me, Mark, at the Baseball Biz. And to look forward to hearing more from you guys, and hope to be talking with you again real soon. Special thanks to X-Tech RUX for the music rocking forward.